2026 has arrived, and you already know what that means. The flood of new games is about to pour in, like it was ever really on hold. Hey everyone, Cathan here, and today on Game Ranks, we're recounting down the top 10 brand new games dropping in the first half of 2026. Kicking things off with one that's right around the corner. At number 10, we've got Code Vein 2. We've said it plenty of times before. Code Vein is basically anime Dark Souls. And from the looks of it, Code Vein 2 is just dialing that concept up even further. Bigger scale, heavier vibes, more of that over-the-top anime Souls energy. And if you're the kind of player who loses hours inside a character creator, and you're a serious Dark Souls fan, if you're a Souls fan and an anime fan, this is pretty much your whole month sorted. I never really understood why so many people were hard on Code Vein. Sure, some of the character designs feel a little over the top for a bleak, post-apocalyptic Souls-like. That criticism's fair. And yeah, the combat in the first game wasn't exactly the gold standard of the genre. Maybe not the smoothest or most refined, but there's a good chance the sequel tightens that up at least a bit. Still, Code Vein brought a strong story and a genuinely interesting world to the table. And if you're just looking for a solid, good time, the first one's going for like $8 on Steam right now. That's a massive discount. And let us be honest, it's probably there to build some momentum for the sequel. And yeah, it's working on me. Code Vein 2 drops on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series consoles on January 30th. Now I'm gonna lean into the vampire theme for a second and do a little bit of begging. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Seriously, a huge chunk of you watching aren't subscribed yet. We always feel a little awkward asking, but it genuinely helps the channel out in a big way. And hopefully, it helps you keep up with more videos like this. Stuff you actually want to watch. Seriously, thanks for hitting that button. We appreciate it. Now, let's jump back in. At number 9, if Souls-likes are your thing but the over-the-top anime proportions aren't exactly your vibe, Nioh 3 might be more your speed. I mean, honestly, you could play both and be totally fine, but still, Nioh has been one of the strongest series in the Souls-like space for a while now. If the combat in Code Vein doesn't quite scratch that itch for you, Nioh is probably where you want to look. The gameplay there is tight, fast, and way more mechanically demanding. Team Ninja has really carved out something special with this formula, and they've only been refining it over time. Kind of mastered their own spin on the formula. At this point, you could almost say there's a subcategory of Nioh-likes. Yeah, they're all technically Souls-likes, but Nioh really stands apart with its two clear playstyles: the swift, precision-based ninja approach and the heavier, disciplined samurai combat. If you're especially hyped for this one, there's a demo dropping a day before Code Vein 2 on January 29th for PC and, I believe, PS5. As for the full release, it's a PS5 console exclusive, but it's also launching on PC, and both versions arrive on February 5th. Moving on to number 8, Pragmata. And this one kind of looks like Dead Space mixed with Mega Man, with a little Devil May Cry energy thrown in. It's honestly hard to pin down. Capcom has kept this one pretty close to the chest, which just makes it even more mysterious. That is a big part of why it is one of the most fascinating releases in early 2026. Capcom clearly believes in it enough to take their time and actually finish it the right way, even though most people still don't fully know what this thing really is. We've caught glimpses of the combat, and yeah, it looks slick. There's some stylish action in there. On top of that, there seem to be hacking elements woven into the gameplay too. I mean, you're this guy walking around in a very Dead Space style suit, clearly something you need just to survive and breathe. Meanwhile, there's this young girl tagging along who can blast enemies without any of that gear. She seems totally fine. It's weird, genuinely weird, but it's also really cool. The whole thing has this strange, stylish vibe that makes it hard to look away. Even if we don't fully get it yet, it absolutely makes sense why people are paying attention. There's a demo out there that lets you sample the combat, and yeah, it feels solid. Still, it doesn't exactly spell out what the full game is trying to be, and honestly, that's okay. If it turns out great, I'd rather be surprised. Pragmata is data dropping on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on April 24th. At number 7, it's High on Life 2. Yep, that High on Life is getting a sequel. No matter where you stand on Justin Roiland, whether you believe he did anything wrong or not, what's happening here is kind of interesting. It feels like the team wants to show that this series can stand on its own, that it's more than just one voice behind the mic. And honestly, that's a smart move. A game shouldn't live or die based entirely on a single performer, even if that voice actor is still involved, or even if they aren't XD. Building something that can survive beyond one person is probably the healthier long-term play, which they don't, by the way. He stepped away back in 2023 during all that controversy. I'm not here to get into any of that. I'm here to talk about the game. I enjoyed the first one. I get why it didn't click with everyone though. The humor worked for me most of the time. Sure, every now and then it pushed a little too far into, okay, that's a bit much. But that was kind of the point. It took a big swing comedically, and in my opinion, it connected more often than it missed. So yeah, I'm genuinely curious to see where High on Life 2 goes next. It's launching on PS5 and Xbox, February 13th on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. At number 6, we've got Sorrow Woes. a new sci-fi action game from Housemarque, the team behind Returnal. And yeah, from what we've seen so far, this absolutely looks like the next evolution of that Returnal-style formula, which is a good thing, a very good thing. In all seriousness, Returnal is an insanely fun game. I loved the progression loop, the atmosphere, the way it blended tight shooting with that mysterious, layered storytelling. It just worked. And according to the developers, Saros is building directly on those strengths, refining the systems, expanding the ideas, making that core loop even better. And honestly, yes, that's exactly what I want. I mean, I don't know what else you'd ask for from this studio right now. What else is there to say? Of course, I want to play the next game from Housemarque. If it's another Returnal-style experience that's aiming to be bigger and better, why wouldn't I be interested? That's an easy sell. Saros hits PS5 on April 30th. Moving on to number 5, it's Reanimal. This one comes from the team behind the first 2 Little Nightmares games. And yeah, it definitely feels like a more evolved version of that formula. Darker, more detailed, more intense. The story centers on a brother and sister trying to escape a twisted version of their home. Except it's been warped into this full-on nightmare version of itself. So you can probably guess the kind of experience they're aiming for. They've even said they want this one to lean harder into pure horror. Less of that quiet, unsettling mood piece and more of a direct, in-your-face, scary game. Not that Little Nightmares didn't have its creepy moments, but this sounds like it's pushing things further. There honestly aren't at many games where the developers openly talk about the direct influences behind what they are building like this. It takes two. The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, and Silent Hill 2. That's a pretty wild mix of inspirations, but that's exactly what they've pointed to for this project. And honestly, when you watch the footage, it kind of checks out. What's also cool is the co-op setup. It's got that Sonic and Tail style drop-in, drop-out feel. Not just the old grab a second controller and jump in approach like Sonic the Hedgehog 2, but something a bit more fleshed out and intentional. If you were all out were looking for something darker than the usual February vibe, something with a little more bite, this might be the move. Reanimal is landing on PS5, Xbox Series, and our Switch 2 and PC on February 13th. At number 4, we've got Lego Batman, Legacy of the Dark Knight. This thing feels like Lego colliding with Arkham, mashed together with just about every era of Batman you can think of. There's so much packed in here. References from different timelines, different versions, different formats. It really seems like they didn't hold back at all, and that's awesome to see. Jake actually got some hands-on time with it and put a video up on his channel talking about the experience. From what he said, it plays kind of like Arkham Light. The combat and movement aren't quite as razor-sharp or weighty as the full Arkham games, but which, to be fair, is kind of what you'd expect. At the end of the day, it's a Lego game. It's not trying to be this ultra-serious, grim-dark Batman simulator. So yeah, you're still getting the classic Lego humor, the light puzzle platforming, all that charm. But layered on top of that is Arkham-style combat, just streamlined a bit, plus a full open world to explore. Honestly, it all looks pretty solid. The only thing I'm not totally sold on, they've got someone doing a Will Arnett-style voice, instead of actually bringing in Will Arnett himself, and it's noticeable. I'm sorry, but Lego Batman is basically BoJack in a batsuit. Miss BoJack Horseman to me. Lego Batman, Legacy of the Dark Knight launches on PS5, Xbox Series, Switch 2, and PC on May 29th. Now moving on to number 3, Crimson Desert. This is the game that spent literal years confusing everyone by looking and sounding like an MMO, while not actually being an MMO. Turns out, it's a single-player experience, and once you see extended gameplay, it feels way closer to something like The Witcher than an online grind fest. You step into the role of Macduff, a mercenary captain navigating the world of Pywell. There's war unfolding around you, political tension everywhere, shifting alliances, and you're right in the middle of it. With monsters thrown into the mix too. And yeah, that all sounds very Witcher-ish, but maybe a bit more fluid in motion. Some of the gameplay we've seen honestly looks closer to Assassin's Creed than The Witcher, especially in how smooth and fast the combat feels. No shade toward The Witcher. I actually like its heavier, slightly awkward combat style. But there's something satisfying about cleaner, more responsive action too, and this seems to be leaning in that direction. The tech behind this game also looks kind of insane. The engine is doing some wild stuff visually, and Pearl Abyss has clearly been going all in trying to make this thing as ambitious as possible. To be honest, this thing looks so over-the-top ambitious that I am not even sure what the final package is going to feel like. But I am excited about the idea of it becoming a big, prestige single-player epic, instead of just another throwaway live service cash grab. Crimson Desert hits PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on March 19th. Now at number 2, the long-awaited 007 First Light. This is IO Interactive taking their shot at the Bond universe. And yeah, I'm genuinely pumped for this one. It's not a remake. It's not some quick movie tie-in. This is a brand new James Bond video game built from the ground up. A full-on game franchise coming from the studio behind Hitman, which, honestly, are words I would have been thrilled to hear even 10 years ago. And that's not just because of the recent trilogy, even before that comeback run. The idea of the Hitman team handling Bond would have sounded perfect. But they've only sharpened their craft over time, and now they're tackling Iriozo 7. From what they've shown, it seems like they're leaning harder into cinematic presentation than they usually do with Hitman. I'd be shocked if we didn't see some of that social stealth style gameplay they want to be known for. But it also looks like there's going to be a strong focus on big dramatic set pieces and slick action moments too. More tightly scripted story moments as well. What's really interesting is that this takes place very early in James Bond's career. It's basically an origin story, which I'm into. We don't really get many full-on origin takes in games, and even in movies, it's rare to see one that fully commits. You could argue Casino Royale dips into that territory a bit, but this looks like it's set even earlier in Bond's life. I'm in. 007 First Light launches on PS5, Xbox Series, Switch 2, and PC on May 27th. And finally, at number 1, we've got Resident Evil Requiem, the latest entry in the long-running series. Wait, Resident Evil game. And honestly, this one looks especially interesting because it's set in Raccoon City years after the government decided the best solution was, you know, a nuclear explosion, supposedly to solve the whole situation. If you know Resident Evil, you know exactly what the Raccoon City situation was. I'm about to say the most obvious thing imaginable. Yeah, it was zombies. Lots of them. What's really cool this time around is that they're going with a dual protagonist setup. Not just in the usual separate campaigns way, but in a more intertwined back and forth style from what it sounds like. Really seen in that way since the early Resident Evil titles. And even with the remakes, it hasn't quite felt like this. They're still keeping a lot of details under wraps, but everything they've shown so far looks seriously impressive. I'm genuinely hyped for this one.
It's landing on all.
Requiem launches on PS5, Xbox Series, Switch 2, and PC on February 27th. And I've got a couple of bonus picks for you. First up, Bungie is bringing Marathon back as a PvP extraction shooter, and that's either going to be amazing, or it's going to be, well, one of those experiments. Exactly what it looks like right now, which, if I'm being honest, doesn't inspire a ton of confidence. I'm not going to pretend it looks amazing. That said, we're absolutely going to be talking about it a lot this year. I can already tell. Look, I hope it's great. If it ends up surprising everyone and actually delivers, I'll happily eat my words. I won't be mad about being wrong, just shocked. Marathon is set to launch on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC in March. We're also supposedly getting The Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time remake this month, and there are rumors floating around about an Obsidian kind of shadow drop situation with zero warning. That's what the leaks have been hinting at anyway. We don't know for sure if any of that is legit. The studio at AS has been pretty tight-lipped. Still, I'm hopeful. I'd love an excuse to jump back into that game. Supposedly it's hitting PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC very, very soon. Next up is John Carpenter's Toxic Commando, a co-op shooter that looks loud, chaotic, and maybe kind of awesome. Hard to say for sure right now, but it's drenched in 80s synth vibes. And with John Carpenter attached to it, I'm automatically at least a little curious. I'm choosing to see that as a positive, because John Carpenter is actually a legit gamer,
Toxic Commando's coming
to impress. The guy's picky, so if his name's on it, I have to assume there's something there. John Carpenter's Toxic Commando hits PC, PS5, and Xbox Series on March 12th. Next up, Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly, the remake. This is easily one of the most unsettling horror games ever put out. It's the one where your only real weapon is a camera. That's it. You fight ghosts by photographing them. And somehow, that worked terrifyingly well. I remember playing it back in the Wii era, and it was scary as hell even then. If it could pull that off on the Wii, imagine what it's going to feel like on PS5, Xbox Series, and Switch 2. Along with PC, where it's arriving March 12th. And yeah, it's probably going to be just as nerve-wracking there, if not worse. Next up is Diablo Force, Lord of Hatred, a full expansion built around Mephisto. So yes, if your loot addiction needed a fresh excuse, here it is. I don't know if some of you have migrated to other grind-heavy games by now, but Diablo's clearly not done feeding that cycle. The expansion drops on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC on April 28th. Then there's Cairn, a much quieter, almost meditative survival experience. But don't let that calm vibe fool you. It's brutal. The whole game is built around verticality and climbing. Solo, no enemies, no combat, no weapons, just you trying to scale a mountain. And if you slip up, you fall. That's it. That's the game. Cairn is coming to PS5 and PC on January 29th. Next up, Romeo is a Dead Man, the new project from Goichi Suda, better known as Suda51. And yeah, you can probably tell I'm already struggling to neatly explain what's happening here. That's kind of the point. It's Suda. Expect hyper-stylized violence, weird energy, and something that either absolutely sticks the landing or crashes in the most spectacular, janky way possible. If it works, it's going to hit hard. If it doesn't, it'll still be the kind of chaotic mess everyone ends up talking about anyway. Either way, the guy makes unforgettable stuff. For better or worse, it sticks with you. And that's everything I've got for today. The first half of this year is looking stacked, don't you think? Drop a comment and let us know which games you're most hyped for. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed yet, this is a perfect time to fix that. We put out brand new videos every single day, and the easiest way to catch them early is by subscribing. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. As always, thanks a ton for watching. I'm Cairn. If you want even more from us, consider becoming a member of GameRanks and checking out The Cairn Show. The response so far has been awesome. We're having a blast making it, and it really runs on your support. Hope to see you over there, and we'll catch you next time right here on GameRanks.